I find it fascinating that when I look at the back end of this podcast behind the scenes, of all the many thousands of people who listen to this show every single month, so few of them have actually hit that follow button, and even fewer have ever left us a rating or a review. If you enjoy the podcast and you get value out of it, then I would ask that you do us a solid and just take a small moment to hit that follow button. And if you want to go just one little step further, take a second to rate and review the show. It means nothing to you, but it means everything to me. And you just taking a small amount of your time to support the show is going to allow me to expand the reach of this podcast, bring it to more and more people, and continue to bring you more and more value every single week. So wherever you are right now, just take one moment, tap that follow button, and if you want to go just a little step further, leave us a rating and a review. Thank you so much for listening in and supporting the show. Thank you for being here today, and let's dive in. Hey everybody, welcome to the Conscious Love Show. Whether you are single, you are in a relationship, or you're healing a broken heart, this show is here to inspire you, to remind you how beautiful, lovable, and amazing you truly are, and to give you the practical tools and insights to navigate from wherever you are right now to the loving relationship that you so deeply want to have. My name is Shane Kohler. I'm a certified transformational coach and trainer with over a decade experience helping people release their trauma and open their hearts to love. I've delivered seminars all over the world, coached thousands of people through my online platforms and programs, and every week I'm coming straight to you with the hottest insights and the best teachers around, bringing you powerful resources and profound conversations to heal your relationship with love, dating, and yourself. I'm so grateful you're here, and if it's your first time, welcome. You can count on me to always show up for you with my very best and a commitment to learn and grow myself so I can serve you to my maximum ability. Thanks so much for tuning into the show. I've got some awesome things planned for you today. So without further ado, let's dive in. And so I understand what you're asking here. You're saying, if I'm anxious, do I just attract someone who's compatible with that? Or do you have to be secure? And I want to say relationships can be created on any level. But if we're talking about a conscious relationship, if we're talking about a relationship that has the potential to not only last for a long time, but be deeply connected and deeply loving, because a lot of relationships last for a long time, but they're not deeply connected and deeply loving, right? So I'm assuming that when you ask this, you're asking from the perspective that you want a relationship that's going to be deeply connected, deeply loving, and lasting. Now, you can get into all kinds of relationships. You can get into situationships that last for 3 months. You can get into casual sexual encounters. You can get into toxic, narcissistic dynamics that last for 10 years, right? Like, there are a lot of different kinds of relationships. But if we're talking about a conscious relationship that is deeply connected, deeply loving, and that has the potential to last a long time, that's a very specific kind of relationship. I'm going to answer the question from that perspective. So assuming that you want that kind of relationship, right? Assuming that you want a deeply connected, deeply loving relationship that could last a lifetime, do you have to be secure? Yes, you do. Because secure love is what is the context for that. So let me just give an illustration real quick. Palm trees grow on the beach. Why do palm trees grow on the beach? Palm trees grow on the beach because the beach is the perfect environment for a palm tree to grow, right? This is the way the whole universe is set up. The environment produces what is natural for that environment, right? Ferns grow in the woods. Why do ferns grow in the woods? Because the woods is the perfect environment for a fern to grow. The whole universe is set up like this. The environment produces that which is congruent for the environment. So let's just start there. Secure attachment, and really secure attachment, to simplify it, is just, that's me being secure within myself. Secure attachment is the context, it's the appropriate environment in which a conscious relationship can grow. If I am not securely attached, if I don't feel secure within myself, I am not the environment for a conscious relationship to grow. Now, this bleeds right into the question a lot of people ask, do I have to be completely healed to have a healthy relationship? No, you don't. And so while, yes, we need to be securely attached, I think you could be a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right of the balance point. So let me put it this way. Generally speaking, and of course there are variations and there are nuances, but generally speaking, if you're way out on the fringes of the spectrum, think about it like this. There's a balance point in the middle. And we could say the balance point in the middle is like, I'm perfectly secure. That's perfectly balanced. Balance of my masculine and feminine energy. I feel secure in myself. I have boundaries. I communicate all right. Like, so that perfect balance is the middle. That's perfectly secure. Maybe nobody is perfectly secure, right? But theoretically, there's that perfect balance point. Then on one extreme of the spectrum, you have anxious attachment, which is the severe desperation, chasing and clinging to love. On the other end of the spectrum, you have avoidant attachment, which is the pulling away, resisting love. You also have disorganized attachment, which is those of us who have a tendency to vacillate from one extreme to the other, right? So maybe I cling and push and then I pull away. And these like vacillations from one side to the other are very intense, right? So disorganized often is the extreme of both. I go from very anxious to very avoidant, and sometimes back and forth very intensely. But all of these are imbalanced, right? None of these are at the secure balance point in the middle. Now, to answer your question, do I have to be perfectly secure? Well, let's just say, just for illustration's point, none of this is scientific. I'm just saying for the point of illustration. Let's say the extremes are 100 points away from the center. And maybe if you're 10 points away from the center, right? So here's the center and you're relatively close to it, but maybe you're on the anxious side or you're on the avoidant side. Well, you could absolutely create a conscious relationship. If you're 100 points from the center, you're pretty far out. You're pretty far out of balance. So the potential of creating a conscious relationship from that place is very unlikely. But this is maybe the beauty of it. And I think the universe, there's a synchronicity and a certain congruence in the way things operate in our universe that is always facilitating opportunities for healing. So let's say you're 75 points out from the balance point, right? You're pretty far out into the extreme. Well, if you're that far out, if you're 75 points out from the balance point, you are probably going to attract somebody who is 75 points out in the opposite direction. So if you're 75 points in the direction of being anxious, you're probably going to attract somebody who's 75 points in the direction of being avoidant. Good news and bad news about that. I'll give you the bad news first. The bad news is that relationship is going to be very chaotic. It's going to be a lot of push-pull, a lot of chasing, a lot of disappointment. You get really close and then you pull away. You get excited and then you get let down. And a lot of up and down, high and low, chaotic, push-pull, hot, cold, all of that. It's going to be a very chaotic relationship. That's the bad news. The good news is that chaos is the perfect opportunity for you to become more secure. Because if let's say you're 75 points out on the anxious side, you attract someone who's 75 points out on the avoidant side, you get into this chaotic, high, low, hot, cold relationship. What you are experiencing is an intensification of your own patterns. Now, you can choose to be overcome by those patterns. You can choose to let them take over, to go fully into them, to be run by your need and your desperation and your chasing and your disappointment and all of that. Or, while you're experiencing all of that, you have the opportunity to become more conscious of your patterns. So you say, why am I chasing this person who just constantly avoids me? Why am I giving my best to somebody who doesn't seem to appreciate it? Why am I trying to prove myself to somebody who doesn't value what I'm offering? Maybe you have the opportunity to do some emotional work and really be, okay, what am I feeling here? And where have I felt this in my past? How does what I'm feeling in this relationship reflect what I felt in childhood? How have I been feeling these familiar feelings throughout my whole life? How have I been finding relationships that recreate these familiar feelings? And how am I perpetuating the same relational patterns that I've had since childhood over and over again throughout my life? Maybe you can start to get in touch with that. Maybe you can start to feel those feelings more deeply. Maybe you can start to clarify a greater vision of what would secure love look like? What would secure love feel like? And as you do this, maybe you move from 75 points out to 50 points out, right? So you're getting closer to the balance point. Now, if you're 75 points out and you move to 50 and the other person stays at 75, now you're a lot more secure than that person. When you met them, you weren't so secure, but this relationship, using it as a context for your growth, has allowed you to become more secure. And so from 50 points out, you're looking at someone who's 75 points out, and you say, I'm not really attracted to that person anymore. It's lost its luster. And so maybe you let that relationship go. And then maybe you attract someone who's 50 points out. And now, again, there's more of a resonance there because they're the equal and opposite reflection. And so you re-experience those patterns again, but you do it with a little more consciousness. You do it with a little more awareness. You do it in a little more powerful way. And maybe you move from 50 points to 25 points. And maybe you let that relationship go because it's still not quite right. And then maybe at 25 points, you find someone who's, again, the equal and opposite reflection. But at this stage, you're close enough to the balance point. Both of you are balanced enough that maybe the relationship doesn't have to end. Maybe you can serve as that reflection for each other. And you both help each other become more secure. And as you grow together, you're moving closer and closer and closer to that balance point. Closer and closer to that point of being fully secure. Now, again, I don't know if anybody is 100% secure. Maybe people are. I wouldn't say I am, right? But I don't know if anybody is 100% secure, but this is what I've seen with my wife. We went through a lot of stuff before we met each other that had us be resonant when we met each other. We've gone through a lot of stuff together that has had us become way more secure than we were when we met. And as far as I can tell, this relationship isn't going anywhere. And we both feel way more secure in it than we did 5 years ago. So that's kind of how it works. If you're, again, this isn't scientific, I'm just using this for illustration, but if you're 5 or 10 points off of the balance point on a scale of 100, you're doing pretty good. You're in a great place to create a conscious relationship. And if you're that close to the balance point, you are going to naturally be unattracted to people who are operating on the extremes. It's just not going to resonate. It's not going to feel good to you. So that's how it works. And, what I would say, just to make it really practical, because you might be asking yourself, well, where am I? Am I 50 points out? Am I 100 points out? You don't need to worry about that. I was only using that illustration to help you understand the dynamics here. But you don't need to worry about, well, where am I on the spectrum? How secure am I? All you need to do very simply is use whatever shows up in your life as a platform for your growth. Every single relationship that comes into your life, approach it as consciously as possible. Always be actively working to become more secure. When I met my wife, I didn't stop working to become more secure. We just started working together rather than working alone. So whatever shows up in your life, use that as a platform to heal, to grow, to become more secure. The more you do that, the more you'll naturally tune in to what resonates and what doesn't. And as you continue to practice that, you will become more and more secure. You'll be attracted to more and more secure people. And at some point in the journey, you'll find someone where there's a natural resonance, and that relationship won't need to end. Because every step you take into your growth, they'll take an equal step, and you'll continue to grow together. Thanks again for checking out the show. Please subscribe on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on the most. And I would love it so much if you leave a review and tell people what you think of us. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram @TheLivingRelationship to connect more closely. And I'm grateful to be supporting you on your journey to love.